Hey everyone, Joe here, interrupting your episode of Book Lounge by Libby with just a small favor to ask of you. If you would take a moment for me, I have a survey out there. I would like to know what you think about Book Lounge by Libby. So, in the episode description, there is a link to a survey. If you could take a moment and fill that out for me, I'd be ever so grateful. Whether you're a longtime listener from the Professional Book Nerds days, a new listener, or are just finding out about Book Lounge by Libby now, I want to hear from you. Fill out that survey so I know what you like about the show right now and what you'd love to see in the future. This survey will run until January 5th. So, take some time, fill it out, let me know what you think. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Happy reading. And now, on to the episode. Welcome to Book Lounge by Libby. My name is Joe, and I am so happy you're here. Hopefully, you have enjoyed season 2. We are well and truly wrapped up now, but this is a great time. This is the last episode of 2025. We're about to head into the holiday season. And what better way to do that than to look at the books releasing in January that we are adding to our TBRs that we're most excited for? I am joined by my wonderful friend Madison. Hello, Madison.
Hi.
I'm so happy to have you back. I'm glad we get to talk about the books we're looking forward to.
I'm so excited. I feel like January is always like the most exciting month to look at. You're like fresh start to the year, setting the tone, what's coming out.
How many books am I going to read? What's the vibe? What am I curating for this year? There's so much. I don't know. There's like so much to think of when it comes to starting a new year. And I'm not one for resolutions, or I'm one for kind of always being mindful and doing the things we need to do. So you won't find much by way of like self-help and growth books on my list. But I love that for the people who love that.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to find self help on this.
No, no.
Honestly, at any time of year. But
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter when. My therapist has all the self-help I need.
yep. Yep. She'll share the important like tidbits with me. She's read them. I don't need to.
Exactly. She has the gems that I need,
Yeah.
takes me through all the situations. Um, but before we dive in, since this is airing the week before Christmas, do you have any Christmas traditions you love or you look forward to every year?
I feel like Christmas is always very chaotic for me. We live in Cleveland, like an hour away from my parents and my in-laws. So we go down to like where they're from and we do Christmas with literally everybody and like their mother.
Oh,
Like we're
wow.
just running around at all times. In past years, I'm a Pilates instructor, and in past years, I've always taught Christmas Eve morning, and that has become like a new favorite tradition of mine. I feel like I don't know. I like an excuse to be able to play Christmas music in my class because normally I don't have license to do that.
Right.
And I like hyping everybody up. Like everybody's in a good mood. They're like, it's Christmas Eve. Like we're getting presents and like spending time with family. Like let's have a good time. And, you can't always count on vibes being good when you've got a room full of like 15 people. Like
Yes.
everyone's got their own stuff going on. But I feel like the vibes are always incredible. And it's like a nice tone to start the chaos with.
Yeah, that's gotta be so nice, like a good way before your body's about to be put through the ringer of the holidays. Like, no matter what your plans are, it takes a lot out of you. So I think doing some exercise, doing that like self-care with a group that isn't your family really puts you in a spot to succeed with
Yes.
your family.
If you've got, like, anxious energy, like, to have that outlet to get it out before you're around, Uncle Bob or whoever is, like, making you anxious.
Right, before you have the weird Christmas dinner.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
What
I
about
love
you?
that. For me, I think to me, my favorite thing with Christmas is breakfast on Christmas morning. My mother always makes like a breakfast casserole, which sounds so Midwest, but it's truly like a quiche without the crust is probably the best way to put it. Eggs and sausage and cheese and all of that. But yeah, it's the like opening presents with everyone. I mean, my sister and her husband and their kids come over. And we all just kind of get together, and there's something to me about that, that it's like having having what was the same from when I was a child just be kind of updated to now. So I love that. And usually we have, I don't know, it ends up being like a game night at some point, so at some point you take a break and you put on a movie and you're kind of dozing and napping throughout it. And then as the night continues on, it's like, okay, well, here are the board games either we got or that we love. And
Yeah.
it's, yeah, it's like a good time.
I love that. We
Yeah.
tried to do, like, game night with my in-laws, and this was,
Yeah.
like, way before we got married. Like, I was probably sophomore or freshman in college,
Hmm.
and we were playing spoons, where, like, you got the
Yes.
cards and you grab for the spoons.
Well,
Yeah,
that was my high school. We every day at lunch we were
yeah.
playing
Yeah,
spoons.
it was going really well until my younger brother-in-law underestimated how hard I was going to hold on to that spoon to not lose my spot, and when I let go, he let go, I don't even remember, he punched me in the nose, like, not
Oh,
intentionally, but,
yep.
like, when you've got, like, that momentum and
Just
somebody lets
the
go.
yes.
That was the end of our game night extravaganzas for Christmas. Maybe at some point we'll bring it back. We're all adults now,
But
but
still competitive. I mean,
yes,
sophomore in
yes.
college, you're still pretty
Oh,
competitive.
I'm very competitive. I think he was
He
like
underestimated that.
so
She's just your
he's now
typical girl. Yeah.
yes, he's probably now the age that I was when this happened.
So
So
he was
he was,
also
like,
young,
very
young.
young
Got it.
and was like, "She's not gonna do it, like, she's
Yeah.
quiet, like, she doesn't"
She'll give
didn't know
up.
me that well at that point.
No.
Doesn't know that I don't lose.
Correct. And that is why you are on our PR team. That is why you are our PR team. You do not lose, you do not let go. Uh, yeah, I guess we've had a bit of the change, of course, because my niece and nephew are a year and a half and 4 years old. So, the patience for game time isn't quite there yet, but there it will. So sometimes it might not be Christmas anymore, but a couple days before or a couple days after, it's that whole like we all have a bunch of time off. So really just making the most of it. I love the continuous celebration. Ah, but speaking of celebration, let's celebrate these books coming out in January. Ooh, look at me go, king of segues. Uh, do you mind if I kick us off?
Go for it.
I feel like I always go, okay, you go first. But then everyone's not always ready. But today, my book, the first one on my list, I put it first because there's no surprise in this being on my list. It's Jeanette McCurdy's novel, Half His Age. This will be out January 20th. From, of course, the number one New York Times bestselling author of I'm Glad My Mom Died comes a sad, funny, thrilling novel about sex, consumerism, class, desire, loneliness, the internet, rage, intimacy, power, and the oftentimes misguided lengths we'll go to in order to get what we want. That alone, and that's just like the pre-description
Yeah.
is already enough. But this follows Waldo. Waldo is ravenous, horny, blunt, naive, wise, impulsive, lonely, angry, forceful, hurting, perceptive, endlessly wanting. And the thing she wants most of all, Mr. Corgi, her creative writing teacher, with the wife and the kid and the mortgage and the bills, with the dead dreams and the atrophied looks and the growing paunch. She doesn't know why she wants him. Is it his passion, his life experience, the fact that he knows books and films and all the things that she doesn't? Or is it purer than that? Rooted in their unlikely connection, their kindred spirits, the similar filter with which each take in the world around them? Or perhaps is it just enough that he sees her when no one else does? Perceptive, mordantly funny, and keenly poignant, Half His Age is a rich character study of a yearning 17-year-old who disregards all obstacles or attempts to overcome them in her effort to be seen, to be desired, to be loved. Again, Half His Age, Jeanette McCurdy, January 20th. I was in love with her memoir when it came out. I think for that whole year, I talked about it and then some after on the podcast because not only was it so heartbreaking and so real, it was also so beautifully written, which with a lot of celebrity and creator memoirs and whatnots, we don't always get that. And while this may not necessarily be my strict cup of tea for a novel, I want to see her writing, especially in the fiction space.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that one too. I listened to her memoir and I'm not a memoir girly.
I'm
But
only a celebrity memoir girly, and I listened to it too, and having to hear it from her.
yes, I listened to it as well. I also just listened to Allison Stoner's like literally last week,
Oh, how was
which
that? Because that's been on
oh,
my list.
it's incredible.
Okay, I
Like
gotta do it.
very there's a lot of similar themes and it definitely is like a hard thing to listen to because you go through like some of those same topics and triggers,
Mm,
but she I feel like Jeanette McCurdy, like, was a little bit more in the spotlight than Allison Stoner was, like, Allison
right.
Stoner was always
Allison's
kind of there.
right. She was in everything. She was always there,
Yes.
but she wasn't the star,
Yes.
which sounds rude, but
No,
you
but
know.
she talks a lot about that in the book and, like,
Okay.
how, like, I don't wanna give too much away, but, like, how, like, some of her physical features were what held her back from being the lead, and so she talks a lot about, like I don't know if you know this, but, like, she had, like, a nose job, and, like, it was because of that, and she had it at a very young age,
Oh,
and it wasn't, like, until that point that she started getting offered lead roles. So, like,
that's terrible.
it's, like, insane to listen to, and
Yeah.
it's, like, definitely not a carbon copy, like, it's not a one-to-one comparison,
Right.
but a lot of the same themes are explored, and those are probably, like, the 2 celebrity memoirs that I've ever listened to that I'm actually like, "This is good." Like, you need not good, that's a horrible word to use to
Right.
describe it, but, like, from a
But
book
right.
perspective,
From a
like,
writing
this
perspective,
is
there's
such a
yeah.
powerful story where I'm like, it feels very authentic. It doesn't feel like, "Oh, this is just somebody who felt like the next thing to do was write a book." You know?
Absolutely, like, as a connoisseur of celebrity memoir like, my first celebrity memoir that started me off, to your point, was Tori Spelling's. Like, if you wanna talk about the next thing to do
Yeah,
is write a book, it's
yeah,
Tori Spelling's whole series of memoirs. So
yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah, to have that, like, poignancy and then go, "Oh, you're a writer?" I oof, 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 oof. How about you? Your first pick?
Okay. My first pick for January is Graceless Heart by Isabel Ibanez. This comes out January 13th, and it is like a historical fiction romantasy. And if you know like my reading tastes, I'm historical fiction, I'm romance, I'm fantasy, I'm romantasy. So this is checking all the boxes right
Oh, yeah.
here.
This is right up your street.
Yes. She was never meant to be seen. Now she's a weapon the world can't ignore. As a sculptress, Ravenna Mafi has always shaped beauty from stone, but she has a terrible secret. Desperate to save her brother, she enters a competition hosted by Florence's most feared immortal family, revealing a dark power in a city where magic is forbidden. Now a captive in the cutthroat city of Florence, Ravenna is forced into a dangerous task where failure meets certain death at the hands of Italian's always the death of me, Saccherino de Luni, probably not the way you say it.
But, either Italian or just fantasy
Yeah.
names, either way,
It's
you were done for.
yeah. The immortal family's mesmerizing but merciless heir. But as he draws her closer, Ravenna realizes the true threat lies beyond Florence's walls. The Pope's war against magic is closing in, and Ravenna is no longer just a prisoner, but a prize to be claimed. As trusting the wrong person becomes lethal, Ravenna must survive the treacherous line between a Pope's obsession and the seductive immortal who might be the end of her, or surrender her power to a city on the brink of war.
Surprise Catholicism, how about that? When you said romantasy, like historical fiction romantasy,
You're not expecting the Pope to show
I
up.
was not expecting the Pope, but also I think I figured the romantasy would completely overpower the historical fiction. And that makes this really exciting because
Yes.
I feel like I could get into this. I struggle with not to say I don't find and love both historical fiction and like a fantasy romantasy sitch, but they're not my go-tos.
Yes.
But when they combine together like this, that's somehow always my like magic door in where all of a sudden I'm like, oh, but I want to read. If I separate them, it's not as much for me. But when I put them together, I'm like, Yep, that's on my
Yeah.
list.
I love a historical fantasy, and I feel like this it
Yeah,
feels like a deadly competition, that feels familiar. But, like, when you're talking about, like, the Pope is waging a war on magic, that feels unique in, like, a
that's
romantasy setting.
no, that's absolutely unique. It's, like, also another way to do the, what is oh my god, I just read The Possession of Almadias, the Inquisitors, like, it's
Yes.
another way to have, like, an inquisitorial situation that doesn't hearken so directly to the kind of, like, historical element. It's super fresh sounding, and Isabel's delightful.
Yes. I'm very excited for that one, and the cover of it is beautiful. It reminds me of, like, a tarot card, kind of. Like, you'll
Looking
have to
now.
look it up.
Oh, yeah, that's gorgeous. Oh, and I've definitely seen the special editions coming for this. They're all
Yes.
good.
Yes. I feel like every book now has a special edition, but I'm
Yeah,
here for it. I love a special edition.
I'm here for it but I would really love if they just put out only the
Oh,
special
just one.
edition. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
just
I am on the same
one
page.
edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kills me. It absolutely kills me. But my next pick, the title got me, and then, of course, it's from a friend of the show, Emily Austin. Is This a Cry for Help? This will be out January 13th. Can't be a good name like that, but it is from, of course, Emily Austin, the best-selling queen of darkly quirky, endearing, flawed heroines. It's a luminous new novel following a librarian who comes back to work after a mental breakdown, only to confront book-banning crusaders in an empowering story of grief, love, and the power of libraries. Shocker, this is coming from me. But this follows Darcy, whose life turned out better than she could have ever imagined. She's a librarian at the local branch, while her wife, Joy, runs a bookbinding service. Between the two of them, there's no more room on their shelves with their ample book collections, various knickknacks, and baubles. Rounding out their ideal life are two cats and a sun soaked house by the lake. But when Darcy receives the news that her ex boyfriend Ben has passed away, she spirals into a pit of guilt and regret, resulting in a mental breakdown and medical leave from the library. When she returns to work, she is met by unrest in her community and protests surrounding intellectual freedom, resulting in a call for book bans and a second look at the branch's upcoming DEI programs. Through the support of her community, colleagues, and personal growth that results from examining her previous relationships, Darcy comes into her own agency and the truest version of herself. Is This a Cry for Help not only offers a moving portrait of queer life after coming of age, but also powerfully explores questions about sexuality, community, and the importance of libraries. So, again, that Is This a Cry for Help by Emily Austin, out January 13th.
You know me. I love a library or like a
Yes,
librarian, bookstore, bookseller. Like, I eat it up.
exactly.
This just sounds so relevant. Like,
Yeah.
I, I, as you're reading it, I'm like, yep, yep, yep.
It's unfortunate that, like, as I'm reading it, I'm like, I know I don't ever feel compelled to the super topical or, like,
Mm.
sometimes even when it's an allegory, if the allegory is too close to what's going on in the world, I'm like, I need to escape from this. That's why I'm reading right now. But a book like this, that's so parallel to my life, this is one where I'm like, oh, I think I actually need to fall in line with this so I can process.
It's almost like that feeling of like, this is something I need to read. Like, this was written
Yes.
for me at this time. Like, there's
Absolutely.
just those certain books where it's like, it gets so close to hitting home
Mhm.
that you're like, this is something that I have to consume.
Oh, 1,000%. I think we need to have an Overdrive book club and make everyone read it because I feel like
Oh,
we're all gonna need it right about now.
I'm in. I'm in.
We know who to email.
Yes. My next pick is The Midnight Carousel, and I am so sorry to this author. I'm probably going to butcher your name. Faiza Saeed Miklin. I tried to find a video where you said your name on the internet, and I'm sorry I couldn't.
It sounds that's how I would have pronounced it. I know that doesn't say much, but that would have been my attempt.
I always really try. If I don't know how to pronounce something, I try to find a video of them saying it if it's like
Totally.
just to be respectful. But I hope I did not butcher it too bad, and I promise I tried my best. So this is The Night Circus meets Water for Elephants in this enchanting, darkly glittering story of grief, obsession, revenge, and enduring love. Come children from far and near. Come choose your steed, you galloping knights, to enjoy the fun of the carousel. 1920 Chicago. Maisie Marlowe has come to America for a fresh start. After discovering an antique fairground carousel, she is seized by the idea of running a glittering amusement park. But little does she know that the wondrous object has a sinister past of its own. Paris. A decade ago, fairgoers inexplicably vanished riding an extraordinary carousel, and Detective Laurent Bisset, I do speak French and I couldn't tell you what that is, closed the case with a suspect behind bars. So, when rumors of fresh disappearances in Chicago also linked to a carousel make their way across the Atlantic, Laurent sets out for new answers to an old mystery. Maisie and Laurent both hold clues to this dark puzzle, but can they piece it together before the carousel claims someone else?
Okay, I'm so in. Another great cover. It's that it's like gorgeous art style, but this is the kind of historical fiction again that I eat up. Give me places I want to be in, but also back in time and with that magical element. That's so like creepy carousel. All right,
Yes.
I'm sold.
I saw the cover and I was like, this looks beautiful, but from the cover, I couldn't quite tell what the genre was going to be. And I
Yes,
feel like a lot of times you can. Like the cover art can be so revealing to what a book is
totally.
about. But this one, it felt a little bit ambiguous where it looked like it could be a thriller, it could be a historical fiction, it could be fantasy. Like it's got like that dark, ambiguous aspect to it.
Yeah, where they're really like the art really leans into that night circus comp,
Yes.
but I totally
Yes.
I totally see like looking at this, you're like, this could be
It
anything.
felt like it could go any way. Especially, like, the little tagline underneath the title says, "Step aboard if you dare," which feels very thrillery to me.
Totally.
So, as I was reading through this description, it was one of those things where, like, every sentence, I was hooked more and more and more to the point that I was like, "Okay, so who's, like, the publisher? Like, how do I get an arc of this book? Because I want it right now." I know I don't have that long to wait for it, but it's one of those things that it sounds so riveting, and I do think that it's gonna be just an incredible book. Like, I was sat from, like, the first sentence.
And that's how you know, listeners, when we really want something, when we're going, who's publishing this? Because I'm
Literally.
going to pull the connection now.
Yes, I was like, who do I need to email?"
Right. Logging into Edelweiss furiously.
Literally.
Well, my next pick is one of those where, again, the like combination of title and cover got me. And it's How to Commit a Post Colonial Murder by Nina McCallingly. Again, this is like from all of those words, I go, I couldn't tell you what this is. And then the fact that the genre listed is just like lit fic, I'm always like, okay, whatever. The key word that sold me is that this is a debut. I am such a sucker for debut
Yeah.
novels, especially when it's taking on something different. So it's listed as a bold, inventive, and fiercely original debut novel that begins with an uncle dead and his tween niece's private confession to the reader. She and her sister killed him, and they blame the British. I mean, that alone, but we are in summer of 1986 with the Creel sisters, Georgie IR and Agatha Krishna, welcome their aunt, uncle, and young cousin, newly arrived from India, into their house in rural Wyoming, where they'll all live together. Because that's what families do. That is, until the sisters decide it's time for their uncle to die. According to Georgie, the British are to blame, and to understand why, you need to hear her story. She details the violence hiding in their house and history, her once unshakable bond with Agatha Krishna, and her understanding of herself as an Indian American in the heart of the West. Her account is, at every turn, cheeky, unflinching, and infectiously inflected with the trappings of teendom, including the magazine quizzes that help her make sense of her life. And at its heart, the tale she weaves is A vivid portrait of an extended family, B, a moving story of sisterhood, C, a playful ode to the 80s, D, a murder mystery of sorts. E, an unexpected and unwaveringly powerful meditation on history and language, trauma and healing, and the meaning of independence. Or maybe it's really F, all of the above. I mean, even that description sold me, but that's How to Commit a Post-Colonial Murder by Nina McCallingly, out January 20th. I am not from the 80s, uh, bald or not. I am from the 90s, but I love, like, this is my version of historical fiction, novels set in 70s, 80s, 90s, because to me, there's so much like pop culture play that happens that I find really intriguing. And I think this, after having read the description and seeing that it's just listed as lit fic, I think that means they didn't know where specifically to place this. And
Yeah,
so it must dance around quite a few genres as we get a taste of.
yeah. If the title doesn't get you,
Right.
like, I mean, that was one that I read the title on your list and I was like, "Interesting."
Uh
And
huh.
also, isn't it always the British?
I think we can blame them for a lot of
Isn't it always the
things.
British? As probably the rest of the world is like, it's always the Americans.
Well, the British can't say that, but everyone else
Pretty
can.
much everybody else, yeah.
If it's not the British, it is the Americans.
Yes, yes. As soon as it's like, she blames the British, I'm like, "Same,
Done.
same."
Sorted.
Prior to, like, the year 2000, yeah, same. I blame the British.
Exactly. Doctor Who can only let them get away with so
Yes,
much.
yes. I can only forgive so much. That sounds so good, and I love something that, like, just you don't know where to place it in a genre, or, like, you'll look at, like,
Right.
the genre tags on Libby, and it's got, like, 10 different things, and you're like, "Oh, so it's everything.
There's
Okay."
either they either put in 10 different ones
Yes.
or just one, and it
Yes.
truly it depends on the pub, and either way you're like, you have to use the description to let it be your guide, and I'm ready. I love, again, the most of all of that it's a debut. So to see a debut get published that is so seemingly undefinable makes me excited. I know I'm kind of rolling the dice there, but I don't think I'll be let down. I also think this might have, I feel like I've seen this pop up a few times, which, isn't odd for either of us to get like pre-pub alerts, but part of me wonders, I feel like this might have been pushed, like maybe it was releasing, time is weird, earlier, like in 2025, and it might have, like, because
Yeah, and
like
gotten pushed,
backwards
yeah.
rather than forward. Yeah, I think it might have been pushed into 2026, or with what we do, we live in like 8 different months at a time, and sometimes that's a whole different year.
S Yes, I never know when it is. Or
Either.
time isn't real. That's my
Time isn't
philosophy.
real, and with what we do, it's impossible to keep
Mm.
track of.
Literally. Yeah, I love when the debut author doesn't play it safe. It's not like your classic mystery or, like, very much like the trope checking of, like, a romance or a romantasy. Like,
Yes.
I like when they're not afraid to do something different.
1,000%, when it's just like, "Oh, I have an idea. I'm gonna throw it out there. If you like the pitch and you respond to it, great, and I'm gonna fight to not change it along the way or make thoughtful edits." Because if any of you are listening and you dream of writing or you write and wanna get published, you should always listen to the editor. They usually know what they're talking about, but there are some things you should always push back on, and if they're trying to narrow your focus too much, that's when you go, "Whatever. It's one book. No one, if I don't get to write a second, I don't get to write a second." But yeah, I love that fearlessness.
Absolutely. My next one is a romantasy. Silver and Blood by Jessie Mahalik. This comes out January 27th. I This was one that the cover I don't like when there's people on the cover of a book. I'm so sorry to the author of this book, to whoever designed the cover of
Yeah.
this book. It's a personal preference. I don't like to see real people or like like
Cartoon, oh,
cartoon,
painted.
yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah, whatever the word is. Fake people. I
Yeah.
don't know. I just don't like it. So, this was one that, like, I honestly kinda when I was looking through, like, all the books coming out, I kinda scrolled past and was like, it's not speaking to me," which I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but I did.
But I
And
do every
then
time.
I kept, like, just thinking about it, and I was like, like, that's not fair. Let's just go back and look and see." And after I read the description, I did change my mind. There's something in the woods. When a vicious beast begins attacking her fellow villagers, Rilla reluctantly agrees to enter the forbidden forest and kill the monster as she's the only mage available. Or so she thought. Untrained and barely armed, Rilla is quickly overwhelmed when one beast turns into two. She fears her death is at hand until the unexpected arrival of a scarred, strikingly handsome man with gleaming moonlit magic changes her fate and provides a rare opportunity to learn more about her own fickle power. After being rescued and healed from the beast's poison, Rilla awakens in a magical castle complete with a gorgeous library, a strange wolf, and the surly man who saved her life. She soon learns Garrick is both more powerful and far deadlier than a mere mortal mage, but thanks to a century long curse, his powers are weakening. Trapped in his castle and surrounded by the treacherous woods, the spark of attraction between Rilla and Garrick slowly ignites into fiery desire. But the more they discover about Rilla's magic, the more suspicious Garrick grows of her identity. As they unravel the secrets and lies connecting Rilla's past to Garrick's, the tenuous threads of trust between them start to fray. Because Rilla's life, or her death, might be the key to regaining everything Garrick lost.
Okay.
It's giving Beauty and the Beast.
I've been sitting here, I'm like, "It's Beauty and the Beast.
It's
It's
given
Beauty and the
Beauty and the Beast.
Beast."
Yes,
And
and
that's
I know
okay.
it's been done before, it'll be done again, and I love it.
And
I
there's n
love when there's, like, a fairy tale retelling.
yes, and everyone like, there's nothing wrong with it. People eat it up for a reason. There's comfort, there's safety.
Always there's something about knowing, like, that comfort aspect of it, like, you know the general premise, but then the twist and, like, not really knowing where it's going to come from here because there's a lot of fantasy and romantasy books that start that way, and then it completely veers off, and you're like, "I can't even guess where this is going to go." So I like that kinda reels you in, and
Mhm.
then it's up to them at that point to make it something that's not boring or repetitive or whatever it may be. And I just as I was reading it, I'm like, "Oh, a scarred, dark, brooding man shows up to save her, sold.
Oh, darn, I guess I'll have to
I
read
guess
that.
I'll read it. Oh, no."
I mean, I think the comfort aspect, or at least the we know the beats we should vaguely be expecting, and I'm excited to see what you do with it kind of thing. I think that's the reason I rewatch shows that I like rather than find something new. I know what I'm in for. Or like I just finally got into cozy fantasy. Was a feel like a promise I made in episode 5. I'm like counting through. I'm like, which episode 5? Where I was like, oh, maybe I need to try cozy fantasy. And I finally read Legends and Lattes, and I was like, oh, there's like no stakes. And even when there are
Literally.
stakes, there's no like it
Yes,
immediately just kind of like everything will be okay. And I'm like, this is nice. So I think like just as well as you can find the cozy version of something, also having that retelling just puts you in comfort zone.
absolutely. I always say, like, if somebody asks me, like, "Did you watch?" And I'm like, "Let me stop you right there." If it's not my favorite sitcom or the current season of Dancing with the Stars, no, I have not watched it.
Let me stop you right there. I have seen 6 movies in my life, but all of them probably 100 times.
Yes, literally. It's not that I don't consume television or movies, but
I
there's a very
just
limited
I just consume the same television and movies that I have since I was a child, so
yes.
sorry.
There's something about comfort and just having a general sense of what to expect.
Exactly. I do wanna go back to, though, you don't like people on covers of books.
I
Talk
don't.
about that. I wanna hear about it because, like, this one and again, no disrespect to the author or to the artist who created this image. It is a gorgeous image to the person who designed this cover. But to me, it also evokes a little bit of that like bodice ripper grocery store romance novel. And again, I love that. I think that's art, but right. I part of me also wants to ask, like, how do you feel about like the Emily Henrys where there are animated people on the cover, or like, because we went from this very much like two painted, two people
Yes.
who you can tell they were actual people who were posed and then done in like a painterly style on a cover, and we've
Yes.
moved away from that. And then we had like just the general flat imagery, and then it was like cartooned people. How do you feel about the cartooned people, and where does the disdain in general for people come from on the cover?
I don't mind, like, the Emily Henry covers because it is so cartoony that it's like there's no real features. Like, you would get a general sense, like, okay, he's got dark hair, she's got red hair, whatever it may be. But, like, I'm thinking, like, the cover of People We Meet on Vacation, I think they both got, like, sunglasses on. You can't see any, like,
Right, or like
defining.
books in front of their faces, or yeah.
Yes, yeah, or whatever it may be.
And you can tell that the bodies are clearly cartoon. There's like no
Yes,
defining shapes to them. There's like vague
yes.
shapes that you're like, this is man, this is lady, but
And if it's like a silhouette of, like, a person, like, I
mhm.
can't see their face, I'm normally okay with that. It's when I can very clearly, like,
When
like,
they've
I look
taken
at it and I'm
away
like, "This is exactly what the author was picturing when they
uh
wrote it," and I have a very active imagination, and I like to let my imagination run wild when I'm reading.
okay.
I like to be able to form, like, my and, like, I know that's stupid, like, it's
Oh,
their book, like, obviously, they wrote it a certain way, but, like, in general, I like to kind of piece parts of the character together, and I feel like sometimes, like, something like this where, like, you can see their faces, even though it's, like, an artistic version, it's not, like, real people.
you're still
I feel like I
stuck with
know too
that.
much. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to know that much when I start the book. Like, I'm notorious for not reading descriptions of books before I pick it up, unless I'm trying to, like, plot out, like, a TBR, like, "Oh, I know in, like, this month, there's this coming out." Um, but, like, 99% of the time, if somebody tells me, "Hey, I think you should read this book," I'm like, "Cool." I don't ask any follow-up questions.
I don't need any more other than, do I trust that person's
Yes.
recommendations for me?
Yeah. So for me and, like, again, it's something I probably need to get past a little bit because I don't wanna ever not read a good book just because there's a person on the cover of it. But I I think it's also the same thing, like, when the movie comes out before I get the chance to read the book, and I don't really want to picture like, I'm thinking Allie Hazelwood has her movie coming out. I don't wanna picture, like, Lily Reinhart when I'm reading the book for the first time and be like,
Right.
"Oh, that's exactly what she's supposed to look like." Like, she's too real for me, you know?
Yes. Yes, like, oh, no, I can't reset the counter again, never mind, I won't say it. Uh, the Twilight counter, well, I now we've reset it. I watched them before I read them, and so, right, the whole time I'm trying to put Kristen Stewart in the, like, strange khaki long
Yes.
skirt, and it's just like, "Huh?" But no, that makes complete sense. I think it takes away a bit of our creative, offerings to the book.
Yes.
When I was talking to Danielle Valentine, she said that she hates to give full and complete answers in a book because she wants people to kind of like take and build it. Like, she has a resolution in mind, but the most final beat of that, she wants it to be something that she creates with the reader. So everyone's experience is a little more tailored to what they need. And I think, yeah, like a person slapped on the cover, no matter what it is. I mean, I think there's a reason we all hate the like novelization covers or like the movie cover versions of books, because it's like, well, no, that person already existed to me long before this was turned into something else.
Yes. I
Okay,
just
thank you. I
finished
love that.
reading yeah. I just finished reading, oh gosh. The Night Prince is the sequel. I can't remember the first one, but it's
Oh,
like it's about werewolves. It's a
yes.
romantic about werewolves, and that's one that, like, I will die on this hill. If it had been published, like, 10 or 15 years earlier, it would have had, like, the Fabio cover with, like, the
Uh-huh.
bare-chested man in a kilt, and I wouldn't have read it. But
Yes.
because it's, like, in the current style of, like, what you expect from, like, a romantasy cover, I was like,
Right,
"I'll pick
flowers
that
all
up."
over a table kind of thing, a
Yes.
random sword in the
Yes,
middle.
like,
Yeah.
very abstract. I'm not an
Yes.
artist, I'm probably using that word wrong, but, like, not it doesn't have a character on it. It's got an illustration of a wolf, there's a sword, whatever, and I'm like, "Okay, this just looks like fun romantasy, and then as I'm reading it, I'm like, I can picture the shirtless man in the kilt, like, on the cover that it if it was, like,
Right, if it was 15 years
15 years
ago,
ago.
yeah.
Yes.
No, that cracks me up because now I'm thinking on the flip side, romantasy covers when it's like, if there's a dragon in the book, you better believe there's a dragon on the
There's a
cover.
dragon on the cover.
And if there's no dragon in the book, it's just florals, maybe a tipped over cup, loaf of bread. It's like the strangest Renaissance gallery on a
Yes.
cover of a book. You're like,
Yes.
okay.
Lots of metallics, I feel like. Metallics are very big in romantasy right now, like
Yes.
the foils and everything.
Right. At the time we're recording this, you just started the sequel to, oh, it was the big one. Gosh, I'm trying to think of what it was. It's like a one-word title. Um, Shoot. Well, oh well, can't
We can't
remember.
even.
But but it's that same thing of like, I think either the special edition or the original like indie pub of the first book, you would
Yes.
have hated because it had a face on the cover.
Brimstone? Are you talking about?
Yes, that's
Yes.
it. Because the sequel
Okay.
just came out.
Yes, the sequel just came out, and again, I didn't read
Oh,
Quicksilver for, like, a hot
that's it.
minute because I
Thank you.
saw the cover, and
Yes.
I was like, "I just don't know." And
Uh-huh.
then we
'Cause
got it
it
on
got the
Libby.
recover of,
Yes.
like, the generic romantasy cover, and again, no
Yes.
disrespect, like, glad a person made that, and,
Yes, and literally I couldn't have gotten past, like, the man on the cover if
Uh-huh.
it wasn't for our chief marketing officer, Jen, told me that she loved that book, and we have very similar taste in book, and she was like, "Madison, you gotta read this." And I was like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "You have to read it." And that's what got me over it. But, like, now, because there's been redesigns, I probably would have had no I
You
would have
wouldn't have
seen it and
even
been like,
realized.
"Awesome, like, let's go."
Yeah. Oh, totally, and of course, Jen was the one who sold it to you.
Yes.
That checks on
Yeah.
my list of, "Is this a book Jen probably read?"
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Well, for my next pick, I'm gonna go in the direction of historical fiction or kind of like a historical reimagining. For this novel, this is Meet the Newmans by Jennifer Niven, out January 6th. Uh, the cover is what got me, I won't lie. It has that 60s mod TV show look. It's got the Brady Bunch vibe. It's got the Bewitched look. It's all very of the time it's trying to portray, and, like, take the words off of it. I would take this as an art print and put it in my home, and so that's kind of what sold me, and then the, like, pull quote on it is, "I loved Meet the Newmans" from Judy Blume, so I'm just like, "Okay, I can't be wrong there." But it's a novel about America's favorite TV family whose perfect facade cracks for fans of Lessons in Chemistry and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Two incredible comps, or books to be compared to at the very least. But for 2 decades, Dell and Dinah Newman and their sons Guy and Shep have ruled television as America's favorite family. Millions of viewers turn in every week to watch them play flawless black and white versions of themselves. But now it's 1964, and the Newmans' idolized apple pie perfection suddenly feels woefully out of touch. Ratings are in freefall, as are the Newmans themselves. Dell is keeping an explosive secret from his wife, and Dinah is slowly going numb, literally. Steady, stable Guy is hiding the truth about his love life, and the charmed luck of rock and roll idol Shep may have finally run out. When Dell, the creative motor behind the show, is in a mysterious car accident, Dinah decides to take matters into her own hands. She hires Juliet Dunn, an outspoken, impassioned young reporter, to help her write the final episode. But Dinah and Juliet have wildly different perspectives about what it means to be a woman and a family in 1964. Can the Newmans hold it together to change television history, or will they be canceled before they ever have the chance? Funny, big hearted, and deeply moving, Meet the Newmans is a rich family story about the dual lives we lead, because even when our lives aren't televised weekly, we all have a behind the scenes. So, again, that's Meet the Newmans by Jennifer Niven, out January 6th. I
The
know,
nostalgia of it all.
right? I love retro TV, and I'm sure I just like broke someone's heart as I called their like childhood television retro. And I'm so sorry to you if you're listening that I broke your heart when I said that, but some 12-year-old is going to break my heart on TikTok later when they say something I did every day in high school is, a retro. So, but I love retro TV. There's just something gorgeous about it. And I mean, like, I didn't even need to look at the subjects to see that LGBTQIA plus was listed in there to know what like half of these secrets are. We all know, but that's exciting. And I don't know, it's just got like, there's like an oddness that I just get the sense of from it that makes it compelling to me to pick up.
Yes. I love historical fiction that is set within like the time frame of not my generation, but like my parents or my grandparents' generation, because obviously I enjoy historical fiction, but it's also a great way to just understand a little bit more what life was really like during those
Perspective.
points and see,
Yeah.
like, how we got to where we are, because it can be, like, very jarring to start reading and be like, "This can't possibly have been, like, the year my mom was born, like, what do
Right.
you mean, like, all this stuff was still going on?" I do think that it gives you a lot of perspective, and I do think there's, like, that nostalgic aspect of it that I
Even when it's a
just
time we aren't like, to be nostalgic
Yes.
for a time that we're not of. Yeah.
Yes, because I can remember, like, my mom sitting us down, like, it's probably around the holidays, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is a show I used to watch, and you have to watch it," and us being like, "Okay, let's watch this old TV show." And then, like,
You
you
get
fall in love
hooked.
with it,
Yeah.
and it is nostalgic even though it didn't come out in your lifetime, like, it just there's a quality to it, like, you remember how it felt to, like, sit down with that person and see them, like, experience it again and, like, feel that sense of nostalgia.
Yeah, yeah, I totally love that, and that just it makes me excited for a book like this.
Yes,
So, yeah.
absolutely. My next one is called The Elsewhere Express, and this is by Samantha Sato Yambao. And this is like a fantasy fiction, a little bit of mythology, a little bit of romance. It's again one of those ones that doesn't quite fit in a box. Beautiful cover. It's kind of giving Polar Express, but like not winter.
Like, it also gives me, like, Spirited Away at the same
Yes.
time. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. So you can't buy a ticket for the Elsewhere Express. Appearing only to those whose lives are adrift, it's a magical train seeming to carry very rare and special cargo, a sense of purpose, peace, and belonging. Rhea is one of those lost souls. She had dreamed of being a songwriter, but when her brother died, she gave up on her dream and started living his instead. One day on the subway, as her thoughts wander, she swept off to the Elsewhere Express. There she meets Q, an intriguing artist who, like her, has lost his place in the world. Together, they find a train full of wonders, from a boarding car that's also a meadow, to a dining car where passengers can picnic on lily pads, to a bar where jellyfish and whales swim through pink clouds. Over the course of their long, strange night on the train, they also discover that it harbors secrets and danger. A mysterious stranger has stowed away and brought with him a dark, malignant magic that threatens to destroy the train. But in investigating the stowaway's identity, Rhea also finds herself drawn closer to the ultimate question: what is her life's true purpose? And is it a destination the Elsewhere Express can take her to?
I'm sold. I'm also realizing that she wrote, Water Moon, which I
Yes.
loved. I am a sucker for lit and translation in general, and the fact that Samantha is also just bringing so many cultural perspectives to us that if you're not like, for the people who don't listen to me when I evangelize, read books translated into English, it gives you so much more. Um, she's doing it just, kind of like from here. So hopefully people find it without the barriers. I don't know. And of course I bring up Spirited Away and then I see in the list it's like, oh, Ghibli-esque. Oops. So
You were hit the
ah,
nail on the head.
I know. I'm such a sucker for books like this. This is the like when you need to I don't know, there's just something about getting a break from our magical realism, getting a break from our genres of choice, because even when you find the genre that you read regularly from a different language originally, culturally, there are just so many differences that can refresh your passion. I think that's like my secret hidden tip of breaking out of slumps and ruts, or just like having a refresh, is picking something from a different country in translation, because I don't know, it wakes up, like, it wakes up your love of the genre, and you don't have to go wild, you just need that, like, one palate cleanser book to go, "Whoa, that's so different," and it's also exciting because I feel like you had to be taking a university class even 5 years ago to truly be
Yes.
seeing enough books translated.
Yes. It used to be very hard to access. Even if there
Yes.
were translated books, it was hard to access, and that's a big
Yes.
if. Like,
If
we're
it would,
seeing.
and that's the biggest thing,
Yes.
like, they just weren't being translated. If it wasn't Murakami, we weren't seeing anything from Japan, like,
Yeah.
and we got nothing from Korea, like,
Yes.
it's just how it was.
It's incredible to me. I keep up with a lot of the celebrity book clubs, even if I don't end up reading the book. I just like to know what they're recommending. And I feel like I have seen a lot within the past year or so where people are picking older books that are translated books that are first time, like translated in English. I feel like Dua Lipa in particular, I've seen her book club do it once or twice. That I love that you have this huge platform and you're trying to bring different cultural perspectives in this translated work of literature to a mass audience. Because it's still it's becoming much more accessible, but it's still a rarity to be getting recommended them and for it to come up just organically
Yeah.
in conversations.
Right.
Um, so I love that, and I think we might have talked about this last time that I was on, but I love a book that has, like, a train or a car like, a road trip, a train ride, like, something
Yes.
that, like, really helps you visualize the journey that they're on and, like,
Right.
that sense of, like, just, like, that
It's
evolution, that odyssey that they're
yeah.
on.
It very much denotes the hero's journey, like you're saying with the Odyssey. It also, to me, has a bit of the, like, it borrows from, like, the locked room mystery, in that we are, and for the journey of this story, will be in the confines of this space that we're in. I think even when you have a novel that takes place across the course of one day, or something that is a road trip or is a train journey, when, like, you know everything's happening in this confined space, I think it really adds something, and it helps show that growth or propel you toward the end.
I think sometimes it also helps, like, if you're not a fantasy reader or, like, sci-fi or whatever it is in general, and you're not used to, like, that sense of world building where it's like a train is something that we can conceptualize and that we have, but then there's these fantastical worlds that are being built around it, and I feel like it's a nice, like, segue into that world building that if you're not
Totally.
used to it, like, taking that recognizable aspect and then immersing yourself into, like, this new world.
Right, you only have to add in the small details of,
Yes.
like, this is what's different than the train you're thinking of, so that we're on the
Yes.
same train. But right, yeah, no, I love that. That must be why I find them so helpful too. My next pick is a graphic novel, because who would I be if not a graphic novel lover? This is Fostuk, and apologies on everything I'm about to pronounce, both the name of the book and the author, by Robert Murdich Apelian, and this is out January 20th. It is inspired by Armenian and Persian mythology. It's a delectable YA graphic novel debut. Oops, my favorite word again, that follows the youngest of three dysfunctional siblings who strike a magical deal to save their mother's lives, perfect for fans of the magic fish. 17-year-old Kata Fostukian has always felt like the odd one out in his family of chefs. Unlike his older siblings, he is useless in the kitchen and too young to have known their late father, a legendary high chef who made a name for himself in the Pars Empire. But with his mom's illness worsening, Kata hopes that his vision like dreams are a sign of magic stirring within him after they lead him to AZ, a powerful div with some mysterious connection to his family. In an attempt to save their mom's life, he and his siblings strike a deal with AZ's help in exchange for a dish that rivals their father's. But after the siblings clash over what to cook, Kata will have to make sense of his magic and family history and wager far more than a single meal to meet AZ's demands. Creator Robert weaves together multiple timelines in an inventive, fantastical story of Armenian family and food, speaking to diasporic culture and how those within it relate to their different worlds. So I think that's great. I love a graphic novel. I love some cultural learning, and I love conversations about the diaspora.
Yes. You say dysfunctional siblings, and I'm like, I'm there. I'm there.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the shows I rewatch endlessly is Charmed, so I'm made for dysfunctional
Yes.
family.
I don't know that I would call I feel like I would get in trouble if I called my family dysfunctional, but I have 3 sisters, and we are all so close in age that, like, we're very different, but we look very similar, and so I feel like oftentimes I can relate to some of the, like when you talk about, like, dysfunctional families or, like, sibling rivalries or whatever, when you start talking about, like, that sense of, like, lost identity or, like, that projection, little bit of, like, rivalries and stuff, I feel like I can relate to that.
Totally. Well, I hope you check this one out because
Yes.
I always challenge everyone to pick up a graphic novel.
I will be the first to admit that I that's something that I see them and I don't like, it's like, "Oh my gosh, I wanna read this," and then I, like,
Yes.
don't get to that point, and I find it very frustrating because there's such an art form, and, like, they're becoming so much more popular, and everyone I know that reads graphic novels loves graphic novels, like, I've never heard somebody pick up a graphic novel and be like, "Oh, this wasn't for me." So, I
Yeah.
know that I want to, so maybe that'll be my New
I'm
Year's
just gonna like
resolution.
curate you a small list of
Yes.
like, okay, pick the vibe. It'll be like a vibe
Yes.
tree of like, what's the mood here?
Yes.
I get it though. I bought the color Kobo when it came out because number one, I needed to see a color e-ink reader. The first color e-ink reader on the market. The curiosity was just there.
You had
But
to.
I had to. I had to. And you know, out of my pocket, not sponsor, not affiliated, but Kobo hit me up if you want to send me money. I'll talk about you more than I already do. That said, I bought it pretty much exclusively for graphic novels and manga because I am pretty much audiobooks through and through when it comes to novels. And well, when it comes to anything traditional book format, I am almost exclusively audiobook. But graphic novel, oh boy, there is something so lovely about just my magic little plastic square that lets me pick up endless amounts of them. And now, especially with how much graphic novels have proliferated here, they're now printing and including color within the pages. And so to have like these gorgeously illustrated and rendered images to fawn over, so delightful. And there's graphic novels for everyone. There's like romantasy graphic novels. There's adaptations. So if there's like a classic book, you're like, I don't want to bother, but I do want to know what everyone's talking about. Pick up the
Yeah.
graphic novel version.
Yeah. I know that Rebecca Yarros just shared that she finished, writing the second Fourth Wing graphic novel.
Oh, okay. So you finally figured out how I'm gonna read
Yes, this is how
how
I get you to
I'm
read Fourth
gonna
Wing.
how I'm gonna read them. I want
Yes.
to. I want to know what everyone loved, and that might be the way.
Honestly, like, and I love when they take a popular series like that, like, I know The Hunger Games has graphic novels, and I think Percy Jackson has them now. I'm sure, like, all of the other
Artemis
big
Artemis
yeah.
Fowl has graphic novel adaptations, which, like,
Yeah.
talk about a wild pull.
Oh, yeah. But, like, I love
Shout out
that.
to the Animorphs. There's an Animorphs graphic
Is
novel
there?
series from Scholastic. It's
Oh, we're taking it way
fantastic.
back.
Oh, yeah,
We're
all
taking
the
it
way back.
way back.
Again, like, I remember seeing the books when I was a kid, but they were at the end of not their life cycle because they remained popular throughout the 90s while I was growing up, but I there were more things coming in that were more suited toward me, I suppose is like the more truthful way to put that. But now I'm like, "Oh, I missed out." And now I'm like, "I think I'm gonna have to go and read Animorphs because I've been eating up these little graphic novels."
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
feel like yeah, I know put together a list for me. I'll make
I
it part
will.
of my New Year's resolution. I will absolutely read something.
At least one. Just,
Yes, at least one. See what I think, and I'm sure I'll love it because, again, I've never heard anybody be like, "Oh, no, graphic novels."
there's some out there that I go, "Oof,
I'm
okay."
sure there's some bad
But
ones, but, like, the
but
format itself, I'm not like, I
it's honestly even more just like the same way once you find your genre, you like, when I started reading graphic novels, there weren't enough, so you just read everything, and now that I get to have a just my discerning palette for graphic novels that I do with normal reading, now I can go like, "Oh, that one's not for me."
yeah. There's a lot of things I reread, and I'm like, "Ooh," or
Uh-huh.
I'll read, like, a sequel after it's been a while and
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, "How'd it get so much worse in the second one?" That I reread the first one, like, "Oh, I just didn't have quite."
Oh, there wasn't enough for what I wanted back then.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
have quite the standards at that point.
Truly, truly.
Yes. My next one is Women of a Promiscuous Nature, and this is by Donna Everhart. This is gonna come out January 27th. Historical fiction. Girl Interrupted meets The Handmaid's Tale in 1940s North Carolina as a young woman is accused of promiscuity and unjustly incarcerated at the State Industrial Farm Colony for Women. Based on the long buried history of the American Plan, this powerful and shockingly timely story of resistance and resilience exposes the real government program designed to regulate women's bodies and sexuality throughout the first half of the 20th century. On a brisk February morning while walking to the diner where she works, 24-year-old Ruth Foster is stopped by the local sheriff. He insists she accompany him to a health clinic, threatening to arrest her if she doesn't undergo testing in order to preserve decency and prevent the spread of sexual disease. Though Ruth has never shared more than a chaste kiss with a man, by day's end she is one of the dozens of women held at the State Industrial Farm Colony for Women. Some are there because they were reported for promiscuity by neighbors, husbands, and strangers. Some were accused of prostitution. Others were just pretty and unmarried, or poor and suspicious. One was eating dinner alone in a restaurant. Another spoke to a soldier. Josephine's sin was running a business as a single woman. Maud's was trying to drown her sorrows. Frances had lost her mind. Opal married a man with a mean streak. Some, like 15-year-old Stella, are brought in because they're victims of assault. She's too naive and broken to understand how unjust this imprisonment is. Superintendent Dorothy Baker, convinced that she's transforming degenerate souls into upstanding members of society, oversees the women's medical treatment and training until they're deemed ready for parole. Sooner or later, everyone at the colony learns to abide by Mrs. Baker's rulebook, or face the consequences: solitary confinement, grueling work assignments, and worse. But some refuse to be cowed. Some find ways to fight back at any cost.
This is this is going on my list. That is exactly the kind of historical fiction that I scream about, where it's like, "Oh, you can teach me about something horrendous that happened." Yeah. Oh, that sounds so good. Well, again, it's hard to say
Again,
that, but
there's
it
a lot
sounds
of things
so
that
good.
sound good from like a reading perspective.
Yeah. I want to read that. Oh
Yes.
my god, I can't believe that happened. Like, that's the full sentence.
Yes, and that's one of the this was one that the cover caught my eye, and this one does have a face on it, but it's kinda, like, covered up, so again, we're going back to my thing about not having people on the cover, but as I started reading it, I was just I mean, it's one of those things that it hits you so hard right away that you're like, "This this is real. This happened. It might be historical fiction, but this did happen to real people who experienced very similar things," which I think is so powerful about historical fiction. And I really think that historical fiction is it's so important for having that sense of empathy and like being able
Mhm.
to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Reading as a whole, I think, is so important for truly
Absolutely.
like developing a good sense of empathy and also just not like losing that empathy as the world gets hard and as things get like, just overwhelming. Um, and this is one of those books that, like, I read the description, I'm like, "Wow, this sounds horrendous, but yes, I want to read it because I need to know about this. I need to hear this story or read this story, whatever it may be, because it's just so I mean, it's there are no words.
Right.
I'll
There
leave it
are
at
no
that. There are
words.
no words.
There are no words, but also right. The empathy, the also like, oh well, they deserve to have their stories told. I understand that the
Yes.
characters in this book are not real people, but they are based off of real things that happened. And so while actual names may not be being said, the story is being told, it's being put out there. Ugh, well, my last two picks are YA picks. So the first of that is titled Gaslit by Megan David Hizar, out January 13th. I'm a sucker for YA, especially psychological thrillery YA, especially Gaslit, which is like about a night of babysitting that turns fatal. Like, I'm ready. So Elle was supposed to be out with friends, but a blinding headache and a twist of fate leave her babysitting instead. Only when she arrives, the house is quiet, the door is wide open, and the air reeks of gas. She manages to call 911, but not everyone survives. As Ella struggles to recover, oops, sorry if I said Elle at first, it is Ella, I missed that. Cracks begin to form in her investigation. Whispers, memories, and buried motives point to something sinister. The gas leak might not have been an accident after all, and someone might be out to kill Ella next. The doors open, the gas is leaking, and nothing is what it seems. Your next book club obsession starts here. So, again, that is Gaslit by Megan David Azar, January 13th.
That sounds like a book that would give me anxiety.
But that's what I love in the winter. I love claustrophobic, anxious, thrillery reads because it's cold, it's dark, and
It's the vibes.
exactly, it just fits.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those that I like even as I'm listening to the description, like, I can feel my heart rate increasing.
Yeah, your shoulders go up to your
I'm
ears
like,
and your heart rate increases. Yeah. I don't
yes.
know. I love to torture myself a little bit
I mean,
with
you love
books.
what you love.
Exactly.
My next one is also YA. It's a YA romantasy. It's called Dragon Cursed by Elise Kova, who, and this comes out January 6th. She is the author of Arcana Academy, which is pretty well known. The moment you see a dragon is usually your last. Since the dragons emerged, along with the scourge that ravaged our lands and people, there's only one human city that remains standing, Vingard. But the hellfire from above is nothing compared to the threat from within. For there is no worse fate than being dragon cursed. Slowly and excruciatingly, you'll be transformed into a mindless beast who destroys everything and everyone you love. Any of us could be tainted, any of us could be lying, any of us could be caught and killed by the authorities. And I'm terrified that I might be next. There's only one other person who might suspect my secret. He's like my shadow, following me wherever I go, part protector, part tormentor, fully annoying. Sometimes I think I'm just one of the million unfathomable secrets he keeps hidden, because Lucan definitely knows something. And if I'm dragon cursed, death might be the only mercy I get.
Ooh.
I, again, romantasy with a dragon. And there is a dragon with a sword on the cover, like we have
See?
discussed.
We called it. I love the I'm not one for like a zombie style outbreak kind of book, but this element when it's a curse instead of like a plague kind of thing, that's where I'm sold. So I know that's like such a fine line and so nitpicky, but for me, this ready. Zombies, eh,
Yes. I don't like anything infectious.
yes.
I like something that, like, comes from within. Like
Either
a
from within,
werewolf or, like
right?
I
Something
mean, I
from
guess a werewolf could
within.
be infectious too. I don't know.
But I'm with you in the because the first thing I thought of was werewolf too. Like you have to be scratched or bitten or whatever. Like even the same thing with vampirism. You have to be turned into a vampire. I get it that they're all the same kind of like allegory, but I want the allegory. I don't want the actual. I don't want
Yeah.
an infect. We lived through a pandemic. I don't want.
Yes.
I don't want
I don't
that.
want anything contagious.
Exactly. Keep the contagions. Well, my last pick is, of course, YA, as I mentioned, and it's in the same vein mystery suspense thriller by Eric J. Brown. This is Better the Devil. It's a harrowing, edge of your seat psychological thriller about a queer homeless teen who, in a bid for safety, assumes the identity of a boy who went missing 10 years ago. only to find that his new home is anything but a safe haven. So, okay, let's dive in. It's listed as perfect for fans of Karen McManus, Holly Jackson, and Ryan LaSala. Most of those names, if not all of them, are kind of like auto borrows for me. But when a runaway teen is arrested for shoplifting, he's desperate not to be sent back to the hyper religious parents he knows will never accept him. While at the police station, he notices a resemblance to the aged up photos of Nate Beaumont, a child who went missing 10 years ago. And in a moment of desperation, he takes Nate's identity in hopes that it will make him a quick getaway. Before he can run again, Nate's family arrives and welcomes him home to a life he never had. As Nate watches and waits for his chance to escape, he finds that the Beaumonts are nurturing and loving, very different from his own parents. But soon, unsettling things start to happen: vandalism, alarms going off in the middle of the night, and it becomes clear that someone knows Nate isn't who he says he is, and that the real Nate wasn't kidnapped, but murdered. I know, it's not a shock as we get to that. As he starts to unravel the mystery, he gets ever closer to the devil he may know, and he learns he might be their next victim. So, again, Better the Devil by Eric J. Brown, out January 20th. It sounds exactly like what it is, and I love
Yes.
that.
It sounds really good, and I love the
Right?
title. I love the title.
I love when we take, like, a turn of phrase and take part of it and make it into a book title. I'm here for that.
I do too. That sounds really good.
Right?
Another one that could potentially give me anxiety, but I think, like,
Yes.
I could push through for it.
And I think that since it's YA,
Yes.
this is not disparaging because I love YA. I'm always out here saying read all the all the age levels, but hopefully that might make it a little less intense for you. Maybe, maybe not.
I do
You
think
never
that
know. It
why
depends on what they're doing.
is
Because
also a really good opportunity to, like, explore other genres, like, if
absolutely.
you're like, I'm not a horror person, but I picked up, like, a kinda I don't even know if horror is the right word to describe it, but, like, a creepy, kinda horror-y, like, middle grade book, and I was like, "This is kinda creepy, but I think I can, like, ease myself into it." Haven't gotten quite to the real thing yet, but it's like that, like it's like
That is
exposure therapy.
absolutely no, it's my favorite, like, tip to give people because as not a big fantasy reader, going in through middle grade fantasy, it makes me go, "Ooh, I love these things," and if
Yes.
I move my way up through it, it's again, yeah, it's that exposure therapy of like, "Oh, I can find the ones that don't do a ton of world building and that they approach it like this," and, and then all of a sudden, I'm out here reading, dragon books with the rest of y'all.
Yes. Okay, my last one, my
Yes.
only nonfiction on my list, and I don't wanna say I'm not a nonfiction person because normally when I read nonfiction, it's something that I end up loving, but it takes a very specific type of book to draw me into the point that I'm ready to read it, and this is one of those books. It's called When Trees Testify: Science, Wisdom, History, and America's Black Botanical Legacy, and this is by Veranda L. Montgomery, and it comes out January 20th. So this is a little bit of history, a little bit of nature, and totally nonfiction. The stunning cultural and personal reclamation of Black history and Black botanical mastery offers up lessons from the natural world shared through the stories of long lived trees. The histories of trees in America are also the histories of Black Americans. Pecan trees were domesticated by an enslaved African named Antoine. Sycamore trees were both havens and signposts for people trying to escape enslavement. Poplar trees are historically associated with lynching, and willow bark has offered the gift of medicine. These trees and others testify not only to the complexity of the Black American narrative, but also to a heritage of Black botanical expertise that, like Native American traditions, predates the United States entirely. In When Trees Testify, award winning plant biologist Veranda L. Montgomery explores the way 7 trees, as well as the cotton shrub, are intertwined with Black history and culture. She reveals how knowledge surrounding these trees has shaped America since the very beginning. As Montgomery shows, trees are material witnesses to the lives of enslaved Africans and their descendants. Combining the wisdom of science and history with stories from her own path to botany, Montgomery talks to majestic trees, and in this unique and compelling narrative, they answer. it's one that I read and I'm like, I
Uh-huh.
need to know. Like, I
Yes.
need to know more. And I read a description like this, and I think, like, I run a book club, and I'm like, I need my book club to read this because it's not just something that, like, I feel I need to read. It's something that I know I'm gonna have to discuss.
I was thinking the same thing. My book club is going through and picking our next book, and I'm like, I think I might have to send them the sorry, y'all, abandon ship. We need to read this instead. It sounds so powerful. And again, that level of it's saying their names. I mean, it's the important thing of all of these things we don't know there is a history to, or that isn't taught or is hidden away. Like it's giving credit where credit is due, but it's also like demanding accountability just from the wind, like just from the
Yes.
words existing. Like we have to know, we have to understand what happened.
Yes. I
Oh,
especially find myself drawn to nonfiction when it ties like, it's history tied in to either, like, the natural world or to,
hmm
like, disease or illness. Because whenever you start exploring either of those, it starts to reveal a lot of history that isn't always taught in schools, often is not taught in schools, and you learn so much about the world. Like, I'm thinking of Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. It's one
hmm
of those things that it takes something that you're intimately familiar with. Like, everybody knows tuberculosis. Everybody knows what, like, trees, and, like, when you're talking about, like, these particular types of trees, they're recognizable enough that everybody knows them. But then you start digging in deeper, and it's like there's so much more to it
right.
than what meets the eye. And that's what I mean when I say, like, I'm not a nonfiction person, but every once in a while, there's one that just, it, like, grabs me by the throat, and I'm like, I have to read this. And this is one of those books.
Oh, absolutely with you. My nonfiction love seems to extend only to celebrity memoirs. And then I tend to just fail at nonfiction beyond that. And I feel like the thing I love about memoirs, especially celebrity, is the like getting the sense of things we've talked about with like the historical fiction love of like time, place, setting, but through someone's lens. So there's the kind of narrative storytelling there. But I think there have also been so many great changes to nonfiction since maybe when we were younger readers, where everything tended to be dry, and now it is so much more narrative nonfiction. But I'm with you. Like, there's only ever a couple nonfiction books in my reading journal at the end of every year, but they're all ones that I went like, yeah, but I was supposed to read that.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Madison, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always so fun.
Ugh, I'm always down to get to share books together. Listeners, watchers, thank you for being here today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all of the important things. Follow the Libby app YouTube channel if you want our full video episode content, and leave a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. It helps more people find the show. This is the last episode for the year. So thank you so much for joining us for this year of Book Lounge by Libby. We will be back in January with more fun content for you. Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be exciting. And you have until January 5th to complete our survey to let me know what you're thinking about the show. So take some time, and I would appreciate it ever so much. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And as always, happy reading. You can sample and borrow the books from today's episode in the Libby app, or if you're a librarian, find them for purchase in Overdrive Marketplace. Book Lounge by Libby is a proud Evergreen Podcast signature program. Explore more amazing shows at evergreenpodcasts.com. This podcast is produced and recorded by me, Joe Skelly, with editing by Andrew Alonso. Our theme music is High Five by Rex Banner, used with permission. Book Lounge by Libby is presented by the Libby app. Learn more at libbylife.com/booklounge.